And welcome to a Disgaea Hour of Darkness, not necessarily a bonus video, but I suppose a B-side, in the main update. Well, technically in a bonus video, but I showed it off slightly in the main update. We unlocked a first post-game map, Prinny Land, and in Prinny Land, the enemies are a bit tougher than what we're facing right now in the main story, but not terribly so for the first two maps. So I was feeling a bit overconfident, and I was thinking, hey, I got this, but I don't really feel like waiting until way later in the game to do it. I bet I could do it right now. And so I did. We're doing Prinny Land right now, and I'm appending this to part 23, since that was where I first showed it off. So the first map of Prinny Land is actually not all that bad, to be completely honest with you. It's filled with a bunch of private Prinnies, I believe 15, I don't know the exact count. They're all level 35, and honestly, just on the basis of being Prinnies, they're actually pretty weak. They don't hurt you too much. Their basic attacks do basically nothing to my characters, and their specials only hurt slightly more, so not too bad to deal with. The one unique enemy here is the next rank of Prinny, Prinny Captain. He's level 40. Not much stronger than these guys, still pretty weak. This first map is totally manageable and is easily doable when you first unlock the Prinny Land map. Later maps get a bit trickier, and by later maps I mean the next two, because there's only 3 maps in Prinny Land. The next maps get a bit trickier, but otherwise not too bad. So yeah, this is no problem at all. My characters are strong enough to take on these guys, and in general, it's just very easy to do this when you first get here. Now, the reason I'm not picking up these Prinnies and tossing them to kill them is, 1, that would be a waste of experience, and 2, the Prinnies in Prinny Land actually do not explode when thrown, so you cannot kill them that way, and the Dark Cannon does not blow them up either, so that doesn't work. So you actually have to fight these guys in order to clear these maps. Just as well, like I said, it's good experience and good money. In fact, some of my characters got very good levels out of this whole ordeal, and are probably going to be seeing a bit of benchwarming duty. Laharl and Jennifer in particular, they had a pretty good time here with their area of effect attacks, which gave them a pretty easy time dealing with everything. And for most of it, I had Jennifer equipped with a Horse Wiener just because I couldn't get any time to swap it out on anyone else. So she got a lot of bonus experience. As you just saw there, I took it off Spike and gave it to Jennifer. I had planned on spreading it about, but the last map is actually very difficult to do at this stage of the game, so every move I made with all my characters counted, and I just didn't get a chance to switch it out. So I suppose you're wondering what's the point of Prinny Land. Well, compared to other post-game maps, the reward for Prinny Land is actually pretty mundane. Aside from the experience you get just from doing it, the only other real reward for doing Prinny Land is that you unlock the further tiers of the Prinny class. In Disgaea Hour of Darkness, I've mentioned this before, to unlock the next tiers of monster classes, you actually have to find and kill that monster, and to reduce mana costs, you actually have to kill it quite a few times. In Prinny Land, the higher tiers of Prinnies actually appear, so this is where you get them. Here I'm swapping the specialist on Edna's Black Spears to the Vile Brilliance we got at the end of the last video. That'll help her damage out. But yeah, Prinny Land, this is the only area where you find the next tiers of the Prinnies. So you actually have to come here to get the higher tiers of Prinnies. So this map's bit different. It actually is covered in a huge geo effect with 2 geo symbols, one recovery 20%, which heals the HP of everyone standing on it by 20%, and one that's much more dangerous, clone. And if you don't take out that clone panel right away, this can go awry pretty quickly, especially if it's cloning the Prinny Generals. But as you can see right there, I picked up the Prinny General and tossed him on top of the geo panel. And in Hour of Darkness, when you toss an enemy onto a geo panel or a geo panel onto an enemy, it destroys the geo panel. And it's a pretty good way to get rid of them because it doesn't fuse the enemies either. This strategy only works in this game. It does not work in any other Disgaea game. I guess they felt it was too overpowered or ruined some strategies that they felt they were partial to. I don't know the best way to explain it, but the big thing is that it doesn't work in future games. So these are the next rank of Prinny Generals. They have the they're at level 50, and they have the Prinny's strongest attack, Pringer Beam, the legendary attack of Pringer X. Pringer Beam is actually pretty much the only worthwhile attack the Prinnies actually have. It has a very high damage, I believe it's 400%, and it hits in an area all around the Prinnies, so all 8 directions. Very good move. I wouldn't say it's actually worth using Prinnies for, because later in the game we actually get a character who has the ability to use Pringer Beam, as well as a bunch of unique skills that are far better than what any Prinny can do. I destroyed the clone panel by throwing the Prinny onto it because it was level 200, as you might have been able to see. I know this is going a bit fast, but that's just because otherwise this would be very tedious to watch. I destroyed it that way because I'm trying to just beat it up. There's no guarantee I'd be able to do that just by throwing people towards it. And the reason I didn't bother with the recovery times, or the 20% recovery, is because it honestly benefits my characters more than it helps the enemy, because as you can see I can still pretty easily kill these guys with just a couple of attacks. So I don't need to worry about them getting healed up. Whereas 20% benefits me quite a bit because my defense allows me to tank a lot of their attacks. As you can see, Pringer Beam rather, does really good damage there. It helps that these guys are level 50, but still, it's a very good attack in its own right. So that's about all the interesting things I have to say for this particular map. Now we're just doing cleanup duty, basically. Once you get those Prinny Generals out of the way, this map's really easy because private Prinnies are very weak. And each Prinny of each rank is always a static level, so whenever you see a private Prinny, it's always going to be level 35. Whenever it's a Captain Prinny, level 40. Prinny Generals, level 50. And I have the feeling that at some point they might have intended for there to be 4 maps in Prinny Land, because the next map just has the next 2 ranks, and there's 1 of each in it. And it's actually quite a big difficulty spike from the previous 2 maps. But we'll be seeing that in a few moments. So I go back to heal up my team, and I actually make a safety save here, and that ended up being the wise decision, because my first attempt on the final map of Prinny Land, I actually failed and my characters got killed. So it's a good thing I made the save, because after I failed I just loaded it up again. So this next map is pretty tough, honestly. A bunch of Prinny captains, no private Prinnies, so we've got only the strongest here. A huge group of Prinny Generals at the back there, as you can see. The green Prinny over there is the Prinny King. That's the 4th tier Prinny. He's level 70 and is very powerful. And you won't see him for a while, but way in the back there's a yellow Prinny, and that is the highest ranked Prinny, the Prinny God, who is level 100 and is actually equipped with some of the strongest equipment you'll see in the main game. So one of the reasons Jennifer got really stupidly overpowered doing this map is because her Cosmic Arrow synergized really well with Laharl's Overlord's Wrath, allowing me to hit like a big cross-shaped pattern and then have her follow that up and pick out the enemies that were weakened. And because she had the Horse Wiener, and these are very high-leveled enemies for this stage of the game, she was getting a ton of experience. So she's not going to be doing too much. Here I was checking to see if I had a stronger bow for Helena, but sadly such was not the case. I actually bought some new armor for a few of my characters just to give myself a bit of a safety guarantee. The Prinny King, he advances once your characters are in range, and as you can see, way more powerful than the other Prinnies. Like, his basic attack does more damage than the Pringer Beam from the Prinny Generals does. Unfortunately, Flan was not able to survive to the end of this map, which kind of stunk. But honestly, just getting through this map at all was pretty difficult, so I didn't feel like just restarting just because a character I would have liked to have around got killed. There I was checking the Prinny Generals' range, because if you do this right, those Prinny Generals all move in that formation, which makes them very easy to pick off. So what I was going to do was or what I did was took out this Prinny King and then had Fu move out of the way. And that sets up for a pretty good combo, and the main contributor to how Jennifer became really powerful. I think by the end of this she's like level 48. That's, yeah, she's not going to be doing too much for a while in the video, so sorry if you like Jennifer. But I suppose it's also a good thing if you liked her, because she proved to be very useful in this fight. Gordon got some good action too. So yeah, the only reward for doing Prinny Land is the higher tiers of Prinnies. You don't get any equipment, there isn't an alternate ending like one of the maps presents for you. You don't unlock any powerful super characters unless you consider the different Prinny tiers characters in their own right. It's just a nice little area that you can do if you want to. I suppose this is a good time to mention one interesting thing about Prinnies, and this is something that's actually pretty much true for the entire Disgaea series as far as I know. Prinnies are the only class that only go up to 5 tiers. It stops at Prinny God. Every other class and every other Disgaea game, including this one, goes up to 6 tiers. Prinnies do not. And here's the combo with Overlord's Wrath, Cosmic Arrow that I was mentioning. Laharl softens up the guys in the center, and then Cosmic Arrow just completely lays waste to these guys. And Jennifer gets a stupid amount of experience. 5 level 50 enemies, and you know, quadruple the normal experience they're giving. That was quite a bit. Unfortunately, these guys weren't weakened enough that Etna's asteroid drop actually took them out, and I wasn't willing to try Turbulence because most of them resisted wind. And I felt this would set up for a better combo. Luckily, Helena was able to do those two with her Dark Flash. And then I was just able to pick off these guys with Guts and Fu. So the Prinny God moves differently than the others. Rather than moving, well, he can move if someone gets in range, I would assume, but in general he advances when a certain number of turns pass. I used Dark Cannon to soften him up, but it did barely anything. But it did draw his attention away from my team, so that allowed me to set up. And this guy is really powerful. Level 100, over 7,000 HP, has really good equipment. He has a Platinum Tuxedo, which is one of the strongest armors you see in the main game, and a Testament Emblem, which is the ultimate treasure equipment. It increases all your stats by 300. Very powerful at this stage of the game. So basically the only way I could beat this guy with my current setup was to basically cheese the heck out of this. I would first do you know, a big Braveheart, or not really big Braveheart chain, but I'd set up Braveheart on my biggest damagers, and then do a huge combo using the strongest attacks I could pull off that didn't, you know, run afoul of any area restrictions, and then have a character that I felt wouldn't contribute too much to actually attacking this guy, pick up the Prinny God, and then just let them take the fall, or take the holding damage. And this prevents Prinny God from taking his turn, so that way I can just keep wailing on him and he won't be able to do anything. And I did have a good amount of characters left over who wouldn't contribute too much. Helena and Guts were basically... Helena couldn't do too much in terms of damage, Guts was out of SP, and Jennifer was way over leveled, so I felt it was fair that she also could be a sacrifice. And this is how the rest of this fight goes. So yeah, Prinny Land, very tough area if you take it on at first opportunity. If you take it on the last episode, it's pretty easy, honestly. But it was interesting to try it right now. I just wanted to see if I could do it, and yeah, it's doable. Especially the way I was playing, you know, with Arms Masters, building up my team. Just very strong characters, able to actually pull this off. But no, like, level grinding to actually get the stats needed to do this, so I was proud, or not, I suppose proud is kind of overstating this, but I was happy with how this turned out. I felt I handled it pretty well. It stunk that I couldn't do it on my first run through and that I had to reattempt this final map, but the fact that I did it at all was good enough for me. And we're closing in on this. Laharl's about to get the last hit, and this brought him up to like level 47, so he's also going to be doing some bench warming duty when we get back to the main update. But yeah, that was more or less all there was to it. Kind of difficult, but not too hard. And yeah, final hit. Laharl gets a bunch of experience. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about this. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you again in the main update. Until then, have a nice day.